Hi, how are you doing? If you've been on this channel, you know I love making videos about like new releases for the year. I do one typically in the middle of the year and then at the end of the year. The end of 2024 ended up being really busy, so I'm doing this at the start of 2025. So these are books that I bought in the second half of 2024, but some of them came out in the first half that were releases for 2024 that I was really excited about for some reason or another. So I thought it would be fun to knock them out, edit this video, give them a read, start my year off, like already checking off books that I wanted to read last year instead. So yeah, I read 4 books for this video, starting off with A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. This one, I have no experience with Hafsah Faizal, but I know that a lot of people love We Hunt the Flame, that duology. So well, this was an RNC premise and very interesting to me, so I thought this would be a great read. So we have that to talk about. Then I also read Heavily Tyrant by Zhao. The only reason I didn't read this in 2024 is because I desperately wanted to reread Iron Widow, and that book ordering it took me on a journey. It took really long to get to me, but because I didn't get Iron Widow before the end of 2024, I couldn't read Heavenly Tyrant before the end of 2024. This also came out like very much towards the end of 2024, so it's not like I had a lot of wiggle room. But it is the sequel to Iron Widow, which was one of my favorite books when I read that when it originally came out. I got a galley between that galley back then, so this has been a very highly anticipated sequel, and now that it's finally been released, I wanted to buy Iron Widow, reread it, and then also read the sequel. So that's what I did in this video. And then I also read Make My Wish Come True by Alyson, Derrick, and Rachael Lippincott. If you watch my Christmas video, you know I officially have sworn off Christmas romances. They're not really my thing, but I bought this before I did that, and I love Alyson, Derrick, and Rachael Lippincott, so of course this was on my very highly anticipated, and I had to get it read in January before it definitely got too late to read Christmas romances, you know? And then lastly, we have The Striker by Ana Huang. Ana Huang has been a staple author for these videos. I believe in my last video I did in this, I read King of Slot, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite books of 2024. So of course I also had to read The Striker, which is a first sports romance and follows Asher Donovan, a character who has shown up in a lot of books a lot. So I was also hyped to read this one. And yeah, these are the 4 2024 releases I desperately wanted to read before the end of the year. I didn't do that, so I did it this year. And here's a little reading vlog of me reading them. Hi, excuse the terrible angle, but my period is killing me and I need to update you because I have started A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. This wasn't originally what I planned to read first for this video, but I've gotten so obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer that I needed a vampire story, and this is one. So perfect. So this is a YA fantasy following Arthi, who is kind of like a criminal in this world. Like she's at the top of kind of like the criminal society, everyone is kind of like scared of her, and she and her brother Chin run a tea room that is also very well known for their tea, but more importantly, by day they're a tea room, by night they serve blood to vampires, which, you know, vampires aren't very well loved in this world, so like that's very not allowed, let's say. And you know, therefore the kind of like what's basically the police of this world have been on their asses for a while because they of course want to bust this whole blood serving thing, but they never can. And at the start of this book, basically their place gets taken over by someone and they are being kicked out. And to kind of prevent that from happening, she is putting on a quest to make shit happen. And yeah, I'm a quite a bit of way through and I'm really liking it so far. I've heard some more negative things out of this book actually, so I was a bit hesitant going into this one, but I don't know, so far I'm having a good time. It is like we haven't really done that much. We are starting to assemble a crew for our heist right now, we're very much like in the setup stages, but I think the world is very interesting. I think Artie is a very interesting character. There's actually multi-POV, and that's kind of where my only complaint comes in, where I feel like the different POVs aren't distinct enough in my opinion, especially when it comes to Artie and about a Jin. I feel like they have very similar POVs and it's hard to distinguish them sometimes. So that's kind of like my only complaint about this so far. But overall, I'm very intrigued to see what direction this book is gonna go in. Because like I said, I do think the setup is very interesting. It definitely kind of has that like crime vibe to it that I just really vibing with. So yeah, I didn't know this was like as romance focused as the description makes it sound. So I'm very curious to also see what romance is gonna develop, especially because it's like a relatively short book and to have like no mention of romance at all so far makes me very curious to see what will happen in the rest of the book if it's supposed to be like a romancy book. Hi, it's only a little bit later, but I'm already halfway through the book. And I again don't really have that much more to say. At this point, we have assembled a crew. We are doing preparation steps for a quest. We figured out for a quest. We're doing preparation steps for a heist, and we've figured out some plans and shit. But we still haven't really done too much. I'm not bored, but I am kind of getting to the point where I just feel like, I feel like we should start getting into things, a bit more. But I do like the characters. I still think this world is interesting, but I feel like with this book, I feel like it's mainly gonna focus on the heist, but there is gonna be a sequel to this, and I feel like we have a little bit of an undercurrent throughout this book of like these bigger things happening, and I am more curious about that than the actual heist. So I feel like this book, I don't know, it's not gonna be a disappointment, but I feel like I'm gonna like the sequel better than this one, probably because I feel like that's gonna delve more into like that undercurrent in here. Okay, 3/4 of the way through, feel very different about this book. Basically, just since I last talked to you, I kind of hit a bit of a slump with this book where I was still liking it, but I just feel like the characters are a bit undeveloped for my taste. I don't really feel like I know them that well. That keeps me from being fully invested in this book, and that's why I kind of hit a slump with it a little bit. But now, right where I am, at the 3/4 mark, shit's going down. And ooh, it's getting good. It's getting really good. So I have finished A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. I know my updates kind of been chaotic. I apologize for that. But like I said at the start, period, I don't know. I'm also feeling a bit weird. But I did finish this book. I gave it 3 stars in the end because I just, like I said in like my last update, I just feel like I didn't connect with the characters enough. I feel like they were very one-dimensional, and I just had a hard time getting fully invested in this book because I couldn't connect to them. And then also I also feel like the romances were a bit underdeveloped in this one, so I also wasn't like rooting for that either. But the plot in this book is insane. Like, this last quarter had me truly gagged. Like, almost every chapter a different thing happened that had me just like shook. And I don't know, I think the story is just so interesting, and it kind of makes me sad that I therefore didn't really connect with it as much as I wanted to. But I am still very, very excited to read the sequel because I very desperately need to know what else is happening. Hi, I just finished part 1 of Heavenly Tyrant. It's split up into 3 parts, so I thought I'd give you an update after each part. And like I said, just finished part 1. I'm like 120 pages into this book now, and I am obsessed. Like, honestly, I'm having such a great time with this book. I immediately got sucked back in. I am glad I decided to reread Iron Widow before getting into this, because it definitely has been a while, and that was a refresher I needed before going into this. But this is just so good. And like I said, I got immediately sucked back into things. I think this book has taken a very interesting turn with the story and this world. We are learning so much already, and I feel like we're only like scraping the tip of the iceberg, and I don't have a lot to say to you besides the fact that I'm obsessed and I just want to get back to reading a book. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give this a go. You're not very stable. But I just reached the end of part 2 of Heavenly Tyrant by Zhao. I do have to say, as you can tell, this moved all was a very large chunk of this book, because when I last talked to you, I don't know if I said in the last update, but part 1 ends at page 118 and part 2 ends at 390. So that's nearly 200 pages that I have to update you on. And what a 200 pages it was. I feel like last update I didn't have that much to say to you, because there was a massive change that happens at the end of Iron Widow. That's all I can tell you. So the first part of it is very much felt like getting our new status quo kind of settled, getting used to like these new elements in it. I'm trying to say this as spoiler free as possible. And then the second part has been so far just kind of like the main plot, I guess. And something I love about Iron Widow is that it's like a very fast, action-packed, fun read. This is definitely much slower, but in a sense, I mean, it's still like, it's not a slow book, but like it's compared to the very fast-pacedness of Iron Widow, which is just like constantly moving. This does take a bit more of its time, and I really enjoy it because personally I love a fantasy. This is sci-fi, but I typically encounter this in fantasies where I love just like a bit of a slower burn, very like political strategies, moves, political intrigue, and that's what's going on in this one. It is sci-fi, not fantasy, like I said, and like the first book was a bit more like I said, action focused and being a part of kind of like the war, and that definitely is still a part of this book. There are definitely still some battle scenes. You won't be left disappointed, but it definitely is a bit more political. Like I said, that's something I really enjoy, and I definitely just enjoy the way it's done in this book. It's obvious that Zhao has taught a lot about kind of like the functions of this world, and I just like the different discussions it's having around the politics of this world, I guess. I like Xiran's kind of like position in it, and I don't know, I just enjoy reading that. But like I said, I do think political intrigue is like one of my favorite things about like fantasy and like sci-fi books. I'm not like a big action reader, so I definitely enjoy that. And also because so much has shifted, the character dynamics have shifted as well, and I'm annotating this book. I don't know if you can tell, I don't think you can, but I have a lot of blue tabs in here, which stands for sad moments, because damn it, we are being put to the way now. But like, to be fair, there's also a lot of orange in here, which is funny, and we have had a lot of kind of more like alleviated moments, so you know, that is balanced well. I only have like one romance tab when I had a lot in Iron Widow, so that's sad to me. But oh well. And yeah, also I think besides just the politics going on, we are expanding kind of like the larger understanding of this world as well, and I think that's really interesting. And I definitely think in like this final part that I'm about to read, we're gonna delve a bit more into that, at least just from the way the plot is progressing so far in this one. So I am very excited to continue on with it, and I'm very, very curious the direction the rest of this book is gonna take in and how it's gonna wrap up the story in this book. Hi. So I managed Heavenly Tyrant. You know, no one told me that this isn't a duology anymore. How dare you? How fucking dare you? Really, how dare you? First things first though, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It did not go in a direction that I thought it was gonna go in the last little bit, but like, why am I shocked? Because none of this book has gone in the direction that I thought it would go in. Although I did very like relatively early on in this book wrote down a whole post-it note theory. Wait a second, I'm gonna find it again. It's like, okay, I'm gonna cover up the post-it notes so it's like see, but this is like a whole post-it note like filled with a theory. I'm not gonna show you obviously because that's pointless. And that theory that Ella be correct, although I did get some of the finer details about it one. So technically I can say that this entire book did not go as I expected, because that was a major thing I predicted, but yikes, how we got there. so good. And like I said, if you love Iron Widow for just how quick and action packed it was, this is the last that, although that last little chunk comes close. But I do still think it is definitely worth a read. Like, it is still just so captivating. Like, as I could not let this book go. I was so enthralled by it. I think the things it has to say does it so well, and I think it's a very clever book. I feel like Zetchen as a main character also just gets so smart. Like, there's so much she has to learn in this book, and she realizes just how little she actually knows from just the way she's grown up and has been limited in her education. So she spends a whole lot of this book just learning like relatively basic things, but it just heightens her already like intelligent self is just heightened by having these basics to help prop that up, so that she's able to express herself better and to actually make the changes she wants to, because now she's starting to get her tools. And I just really love that character growth as well. And there is just like a main dynamic in this book which I can't talk about because it would spoil Iron Widow, that is so interesting, so vile at times, and got me so mad at times, but so interesting. And it's a bold move to make for like a second book in a series, but I thought it was really well done as well. And the way this ended up, I need book 3 like in my hands right now. Why are we waiting for that? Like, come on. So I have another book to update you about. Make My Wish Come True by Rachael, Lippincott, and Alyson, Derrick. Now this is technically a Christmas book, but I just didn't want this to sit around until next Christmas, so I thought while the weather's still cold, it fits. I'm going to the back because I feel like it will explain the story better than I can. 12 fake dates, 2 holidays, 1 chance to convince everyone they're in love. Arden James, Hollywood's hottest teen actor, wants to land her dream role, but it requires a fake girlfriend and a Christmas-obsessed hometown. Caroline Beckett has spent years trying to forget Arden, but the promise of an article on 12 snow-covered romantic dates with Arden could be the ticket to Caroline's dream university. When old feelings start to bubble up, what will fall faster, Arden and Caroline or the Christmas Eve snow? As if you watched my Christmas reading vlog this year, you know that this past Christmas I became very disillusioned with Christmas books. I just realized that's not my thing, but at that point I already bought this, and the reason why I picked it up is because the premise sounded exactly like my thing. Like, hello, if you haven't been around here, you know, fake dating, Hollywood romance kind of, sign me up. Small town, sign me up. I love all of this shit. And because they used to be friends back in the day and I don't fall in love after like not talking for a while, I also feel like it kind of lands in a second chance route, which I also love. So all of that just with like so many buzzwords of things I absolutely love. And then Rachael Lippincott has written a book that I gave 5 stars, was one of my favorites in 2023. Then Rachael Lippincott and Alyson, Derrick were one of my 5-star favorites from, I believe, the year before that, so 2022. She Gets the Girl, in case you want to know. And then nearly Rachael Lippincott, my favorite was Pride and Prejudice and Pittsburgh, if you want to know. All good vibes for these authors as well, and I was very hyped for this book despite, again, being disillusioned by Christmas romances. And this ended up being a letdown for me. I know I should have seen it coming. It was a 3-star though, so it's not like I hated it. And there are a lot of elements to it that I like, especially when it comes to Arden's personal journey throughout this. I thought it was very interesting, very well written, just a really strong element to this book. I thought the romance was cute, but I feel like I said, it does have that second chance kind of vibe to it. And the foundation therefore for this relationship is the past that they had together, but we get to see none of that. We barely talk about it, so therefore that foundation just is gone for us, and that makes the relationship fall flat for me, and I wasn't as invested in it as I wanted to. I also think Caroline was an underutilized character, let's call it that way. I feel like, because, and it's especially noticeable because Arden had such a strong storyline going on, that Caroline barely had anything going on. There's some very small like minor B plots going on for her, but like nothing actually big and that overwatches the book and it feels like a triumph by the end or something. So that just also made this book fall a little bit flat for me, because I wanted that balance a bit more. And also very weirdly, I felt like this book was originally written with the main characters in like their early 20s, like an adult book, and then it was scaled down, like they were aged down to the YA ages, because that's the typical audience for these authors. I had to keep checking there was YA, and then whenever the ages were mentioned, I got a whiplash, because I was like, this does not make sense. But that's just like a minor gripe that maybe is only my issue, I don't know. But I do think if you want a like Christmassy read, this does give you all the vibes. It also has some Hanukkah vibes if you're looking for that. So I am a quarter through The Striker by Ana Huang. Let me quickly explain to you what it's about. With this beautiful character art, so we follow Asher Donovan, who is a football player, and he doesn't get along very well with this guy on his team. He's recently transferred to this team, and like him and this guy have always been huge rivals, but now they're on the same team, like Obviously that's not clicking. So the coach forces them to take ballet classes together from this girl who happens to be the sister of his big rival, and of course they fall in love because it's a romance book, and that's the basic setup for this book. And yeah, I'm a quarter of the way through. I have to say, this is a massive book. We're moving so quickly. Like, this is, I wouldn't necessarily say insta love, but it's also just a bit more than insta lust. And I'm like, why are you writing an almost 600-page book and you're still doing insta love or insta lust? Like, what's the point? Like, I don't get it. We're moving very quickly on the romance front. Why is that? Especially because we also have gotten a glimpse at what like the personal journeys for these two characters are gonna be. I'm like, that's not gonna sustain a 600-page book. How are we gonna do this? I'm genuinely curious, and I am having a good time. This is reading relatively quickly, so that's at least something for such large of a book, but I'm a bit skeptical because of how long it is and how much we've done already, basically. So I am halfway through The Striker, and I just am not enjoying my time with it, basically. I'm not disliking my time with it either, but it's just, I'm feeling so fine about it, and I'm at the point in the book where I feel like there's two kind of like conflicts left. One that I have a feeling is going to be like the third act conflict, or like play a big part into that. So I generally have no clue what we're going to be doing for like another almost 300 pages. I have nothing against bigger romance books. I feel like a lot of people are like, a romance book doesn't need to be over 400 pages. I have read some romance books that are over 400 pages that are great, even from Ana Huang, but why is this a lot? Like, genuinely, I don't understand, because we are moving relatively quickly. We're moving at the same pace we would at for like a 300-page book. Like, not, maybe 350. So I don't get how that's the case. Well, I'm already like 288 pages into this book, and I still have so much left to go. So I don't know. That's confusing me a little. And I also just am not really like into this book. I feel like I figured out, and like, because we have a conversation right now, and in it the female character mentions that her ex gave her like major trust issues, and like she has a really hard time trusting someone, and that just made me realize this book is all tell no show, because this has happened with a few other things as well, and it just kind of clicked for me, where we are being told these things but then like our characters' actions don't align with them. Like I said, we were just told that the main character had like major trust issues, yet never seen that. There's like a couple of new people that show up in this book that she like is meeting for the first time, immediately clicks with them, has no issue with them, trusts them blindly. How does she have trust issues? Like, I do not understand how I'm supposed to believe she has trust issues, because she hasn't portrayed any behavior in that direction so far. And there's kind of like other things, and from both of our characters, where we had told something about them, but like none of their behavior matches that description, and that just makes me feel like it's all tell no show. I feel like the romance also kind of feels that way, where it was very incel-y and we never really did any development, and now we're kind of constantly being told like, I'm so into this dude, and like I'm so into this girl, and it's like, where? Because I'm not seeing it. Just like the chemistry there, it just isn't there, and I don't know, I'm not buying it fully. And yeah, I'm feeling just a bit of a disattachment to it, which I hate to say, because I really wanted to like this, because I really liked Asher's appearances in Ana Huang's other books. Hi, so I just finished The Striker by Ana Huang, and you know what, I was right last update. I did not find anything else to talk about, so I now can say give this 3 stars. I just feel very meh about this book, which I think was very obvious from the previous updates. At least I hope it was very obvious on the previous updates. I had a decent enough time with it, considering its size. I also read it relatively quickly. There ultimately is nothing I actively disliked about it. It's just that there's also nothing I actively liked about it. I do think the characters' storylines were interesting, but like I said before, I find it really hard to care about like Asher's whole deal. But like being transferred over and now being seen as a traitor, and like the intensity around that, I was like, who gives a shit? But I also very much realize that that's a thing real people do actually act that way about, so I can't fully get upset about that one. But just personally, I really had a hard time just like getting in that mindset, you know. But I did think that was interesting. I thought the romance, nothing was wrong with it. I just never really got invested in it. I felt a bit, I drove a distance with it. It was a bit intelligible as well. That could have also played into things. But overall, I just feel like this book just never managed to grab me and fully pull me in, fully get me invested. I think there was a lot of telling and not showing, which I also talked about before. And yeah, overall, it just felt very underwhelming to me. But that has brought us to the end of this reading vlog. I read 4 2024 releases with you in this video. I don't remember how many I did in the part 1 readers. I think I did 3, but I could be wrong. But in this video, just to recap, I read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal, which was a 3-star, Heavenly Tyrant by Xiran Zhao, which was a 5-star. I don't know what I had to think about that. Then we have Make My Wish Come True by Rachael, Lippincott, and Alyson, Derrick, which was also a 3-star, and then The Striker by Ana Huang, which was also a 3-star. Wow. Just ignore Heavenly Tyrant for a minute. I read three stars this video. You know what? That sums up my 2024. It really does. This sums up my 2025 so far. This sums up my 2024 reading year. So, you know what? I can't be too mad at that, but I'm glad I knocked these off of my TBR because I was really excited to read all of them, and I just didn't get around to them in 2024. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of these books if you read them, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? Should've played it cool instead of